Hello and welcome to another episode of our Unity and C# tutorial series. In this one we're going to take a look at for loops. Let's waste no time, let's get stuck in. So first things first, let's take a look at the structure of the for each loop. First of all, we have the for each statement, then the bracket, and then we add in our element type, followed by the variable name to use through the loop, and then the collection that we're looking in. And under that we have our curly braces with the code block that's going to run for each iteration of the loop. Okay, so let's start creating our first for loop. Up till now, for all of our Unity C# tutorials, we've been using the console and just debugging and getting some feedback that way. But I think it might be good if we start moving everything now into the actual game view, into the scene, then we can have a visual cue as to how our scripts are working and start accessing game components and stuff like that. So what we're all going to do is very simply, we're going to create a 3D object. It's going to be a cube. Then click on the little three dots and go to reset position. It's going to put it at 0, 0, 0. We can double click it and zoom in. And we're just going to duplicate this. We've got two, then move them slightly and then duplicate again, just like so. Highlight them all, press Ctrl D. We'll make like a little grid. There we go, easy peasy. So let's create a script. I'm going to make a folder. I'm going to call this scripts. Let's keep it nice and neat. And in here, I'm going to create a new C# script. I'm just going to call this Foreach. And double click it to open up in Visual Studio. Now I'm just going to zoom in. Make this a little bit easier for you to read. Kaboom. And now we are going to create our loop. But before we do that, we need to create an array, which is a collection type, which we've seen in a previous tutorial, to hold all of our cube game objects that are currently in the hierarchy. So we're not going to need any other classes to access this array. So we're going to make a serialized field. So this way it's private, but we can see it in the inspector. I'm going to say game object, and we're going to say cubes. Okay, and then to make this an array, all we need is our square braces, like so. So now when we save this, if you quickly hop back into Unity and go back to our main camera, we can add the component on here that we've just written, the script. We can drag that on here, or we can go ahead and create a new game object in the hierarchy, and we can just call this for each game object. As long as your script is sitting in some game object in your scene, then it's going to work. I'm just going to move that up to the top, make it easier to see. So you can see here we've got our cubes array, and we can specify a size. We can actually do it another way. If we can actually drop objects into here. So I'm going to lock the inspector so it doesn't come off of the for each game object when I'm clicking on these cubes. So I'm freezing it to click on the cubes and drag them into my array slot, like so. Or you could quite simply type in 13 there and drag in each one individually. So I'm going to unlock that now. So my inspector will change when I click on something. So now I've got this collection, this array of all of my cubes. Back in Visual Studio, we're just going to use our start method. So void start. And now we're going to start typing our for each loop. So what will happen here, as soon as our game is run, then this is going to take place. We're going to say for each. That's our keyword. Then we want a bracket. If we remember, we need a type. So what is it we're actually looping through? We're going to loop through an array of game objects. So the type is game object. If we're looping through an array of numbers, it will be floats or ints. So we got our type there, and then we need a variable. And this local variable will be accessible inside our statement that we're about to write. So we can say game object cube. Then we need to specify the collection that we're going to loop through. In our case, it's our cubes array. So we can say in cubes. And then we're going to take it down the line and open our curly braces. Then inside our curly braces here, this is where our code block is going to go. And this is where we're going to be able to do different tasks for each item in our collection. Let's do something nice and easy first of all. Let's say for each cube that's in our array, we're going to turn it off in the scene view. So we can say cube.setActive to false, and this is going to turn cube off. So the loop's going to keep going round and round for every single one of the cubes in our array. It's going to go round once, it's going to turn it off, it's going to move around to the next cube in the array, turn it off, and so on. So this is going to happen really quickly. I'm going to hit play, and pretty much straight away everything's just going to go switched off. All these cubes are just going to get turned off one by one, but it'll happen in the blink of an eye. There we go. So you can see each one of those cubes has now been deactivated. You see it's not currently active in the hierarchy. So you can do whatever you like within the code block for our loop. Let's say we want to see what the name of that game object is that we've just turned off. So we can say debug.log, and we want to get hold of the current game object in our loop, which is stored in our variable cube. So we can say game object is called, and then we want to open a curly brace and type cube. This is our variable. Nothing's going to happen here yet in our speech marks, and before the first speech mark and straight after our bracket, we go ahead and put a $sign, and then you can see it goes all white, and this is going to allow us to print the name of the current game object that we're at in our loop. Go ahead, go back to Unity, and we'll run it again. You can see in our console it's printed out game object is called cube, game object is called cube1. So you can see it's gone through our array and turned off all those cubes. As I say, literally you can do anything here, anything your imagination dreams of. Well, there we go. That's the end of the video. I really hope you've learned something. And if you have and you've enjoyed what you've seen, then if you could leave a like on the button below, that would be very much appreciated. Next week, we're going to finish off our iteration statements and look at the while loop. I'll see you then.